It's on.
Okay. Okay. So
I see your
thank you.
screensaver.
Yes,
I see your screensaver. The explosion of purple hair.
it's taking a second.
Okay.
It's taking a second. I don't know why it's not. Okay. There you go. Now. Ah. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we're good.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us, and those that joined earlier. Thank you. We have been using WebEx for the last month and a half. So we are still learning a lot, and every time it's a new experience, but we're really excited that you're with us today. And we hope that you get a lot of good information that we can share. We are recording this session, so you're going to have access later to all the links. Don't worry about that. We just want you to have fun. You have, let me see if I can move this. So this is the first session of the Growing Success for ELS during the 2020 school year, Fall 2020 PD series. So I'm here today with Ivana Manthrower Anderson. And if you want to tweet or you are active on the Sherlock, he's saying that he has joined us too. If you want to share anything on social media, please feel free to use our hashtag, hashtag NCLs. So, well, thank you. First of all, thank you for joining us. We know that many of you have started school last week or today. So we really appreciate that you have joined us and that you're here with us today. So again, Ivana, if you want to say something before we start with the polls and all the other information.
The beauties of working from home. Yes, Sherlock is still barking. We must be getting a delivery. Welcome, everybody. We are so glad you're here. We realize that today is probably a really busy day for all of you. We appreciate you coming, and we look forward to interacting with you, sharing some resources with you, and then hearing from you what you could share with us and each other.
Okay, so we're going to review some of the WebEx controls. This is very simple, apparently. We are still learning this. But you should see the controls that we have on the screen right now. So we have participants. So if you want to see who are the other participants, you should be able to click there, and then the panel will open up and you will see it. Then the chat panel, we have the option for you to chat if you want to send something specifically to us, or if you want to send it to everybody. So we encourage you to share your ideas and resources with everyone. So use all participants. Every time that you type in the chat, it says send to and gives you different options. So you can select all participants. And then there are other panels. When you click on the three dots, and there are two important panels, the Q&A and the polling panel. Ivana is our polling coordinator. She's going to help us with a couple of polls that we have today, specific information we want to know about you a little bit. And also the Q&A. So if you have a specific question you want to ask, please use that panel to ask your question, and we're going to add information there. I see a lot of you are saying hi in the chat, so thank you again for joining us. We know how difficult it is, and all these transitions. You know, you finish a school and now it's like click, one click, and you are in something else, another meeting or another professional opportunity, which is this. So we really appreciate that you're here. So we're gonna see, Ivana is with us. So we are going to run the first poll, and you should see a pop-up window with the polling, or if you see the word polling, you will be able to see the different options.
So it does say that some people might not be able to see the polling because of the way they joined the conference. I do see some numbers coming in, and I do apologize. No one ever rings the doorbell except when you're running a webinar.
This is organic. It's an organic webinar. It's going to happen. So we're excited that you guys have joined us. So bear with us and all this.
I see answers coming into both number 1 and number 2, it looks like. Definitely heavy on the ESL teacher answers for who's joining us today. A number of others. Looks like 77% have finished. Good, it's moving quickly now. 84%. We'll give it a few more seconds. Some people are typing in the chat box. Thank you. If the poll's not working for you, it's perfect to type it in the chat. We appreciate that. Okay, we are at 88%. We'll get it to 90, just 90%. One more person answer. 89, come on, get it to 90. We're almost there. It's just not going to go for 90. Oh, it dropped to 86. How did it do that? Okay, so I'm going to close the poll and hope that then I can show the poll. Okay, you've got a few more seconds. It's waiting a few seconds for you to submit your responses. Countdown, 9, 8, 7, 6. All right, so do I hit apply now? Is that what I do? I can see the poll, but you can't, right?
I think you need to click poll results and then apply.
Poll results and apply. Right, can you guys see that now? Anybody other than me?
I think the participants can see all the results, but
okay.
Yeah.
So the majority of people are ESL teachers that answered. We have a few administrators, some content area teachers. Thank you for joining us. We want to encourage all of you great ESL teachers who have joined us. Part of your assignment this year is every time there is a webinar like this, bring an administrator or a content teacher with you. Let's get those numbers up for that. And we have a number of others. So if you typed other, feel free to type in the chat box where it is you are coming to us from. I mean, what your job is. Looks like people also were answering question number 2. There's the great map of our state. A little heavier in the Piedmont Triad and a number of no answers, but it looks like we've got good representation from across the state. So a nice mix of people. We want to get that mix even better, so don't forget your homework for the next one. And now, do I hit clear all? Or did that take it away for people?
Okay.
I like that we have Jesse who lives in the Piedmont but supports schools in multiple regions. So yes, our poll doesn't really take that into account. Awesome. Hopefully you guys can't see the polls anymore. Somebody, you can still see them, chat and let me know. I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, Ivana. And yeah, the polls, they work. Okay, so why are we here? Why is it necessary to secure services for English learners? Because it's a shared responsibility. So what we're going to share in the next slides is some resources, information that is available for you at the school district level. If you are a lead teacher or a content area teacher, ESL teacher, an administrator, all this information is going to help you and support the work that you do with your students. So why do we do this anyway? And we said it's a shared responsibility. It's because all educators must advocate for English learners. We all are teachers of English learners. That's the message that we have been trying to give since a few years ago. It's not just the ESL teacher, it's all teachers have to work with these students and help them grow. And so we have 2 acts that say that support this, why this is a responsibility. So we have Title VI of the Civil Rights, and it prohibits recipients of federal financial assistance from discriminating on the basis of race, color, or national origin. So that's the main thing. But then also the Equal Educational Opportunities Act says that all public schools, all SEAs at the state level and local education agencies at the public school level must take an appropriate action to overcome language barriers. that impede equal participation from these students. So it's our responsibility to create programs, develop those programs, and support the staff that is in those programs so they can help students be able to learn and participate the same way that their peers do in their schools. So this is why we do it. But when we work on this, we need resources, right? So there are 3 levels. We have called it 3 levels of federal guidance or of guidance. So we have federal, state, and local guidance. So we said that we have these 3 main blocks, but we all work together. It's not that they are isolated. They have to work together in order to make sure that all the rights and the support needed by ELs and their families are in place. So we have the federal guidance, and I'm going to share a link. Hopefully I don't break anything. And it's the link to the Office of Language. Let's see if I can open this. Can you see my?
Yes.
All right, yes. The Office of English Language Acquisition, OELA. So we have all these links, and as I said, you will have access to all these. And what this office in the US Department of Education has done is they have developed different research projects, and they have resources for us to help our learners. So we have, if you can see, we have plenty of resources, and we have also shared some. And at the state level, we always recommend for our coordinators and leaders in the charter schools, for example, use the L Family Toolkit, use the toolkit, different data. So you can access all that here. And we have linked some that are really important. For example, the EdTech for English learners. I'm going to open that one in the next slide so you can see a little more about that and how that will support your work during remote instruction. But also we have the this, for example, the L Toolkit. We always share this one because it describes which are those school responsibilities and give us options on how we can support the families and the students. Is that guidance templates that we can use in our schools and adapt, and we can then create different things, because all this guidance is guidance, because each school, public school unit needs to adapt and do everything based on their population. What are those students in their classrooms? Where are they from? Are all of them newcomers, or maybe all of them were born here, but there is another language in their homes? So once each school district has identified their population and they know what their needs are, then is when they start developing resources based on this guidance. So this is why it's so important. And then I'm going to link, I think Ivana is sharing some of the links. Awesome.
I just put the one that you were in. The EdTech for English learners is the one you're in now, correct?
Yes, because
Okay, so that's the one I put in
it.
the chat. So as you tell me which one you're using, I will put it in the chat.
Awesome, thank you. Because let me see if I can click here and close this. There's a pop-up window, so I cannot see half my screen. Okay, so at the federal level, we have all this guidance, we have some really good information, and we link some that we have always received questions about, like how do you support ELs with disabilities? So there is a webinar by OELA, and they have really good resources that are very easy to apply in different contexts. We also have something about tips for identify gifted ELs. You know that sometimes our students, they are in this little bucket or like they're ELs, but then we need to find those that are maybe gifted and they might be part of the AIG programs. So there are some different tools here that you can use. And I was talking about the EdTech for English learners, and that one is great because what it does, it shows how school districts can review their technology plan and see how they can incorporate different tools, communication tools, and technology tools to support English learners and their families. And then at the state level, the second layer, and it's not that one is more important than the other one. Again, it's like the 3 of them work together. So at the state level, we have our website, DPI, and we have linked our ELD Google site. And we have been working in the Google site for the last year and maybe a year and a half. And although these last 6 months are kind of like hard to count, but we have all the guidance in here. And some of the resources we link there that are very important. And I want to open, Ivana, we can share the link to the K-12 Standards Curriculum and Instruction Google site. I'm going to show it. I know.
I was trying to figure out how to help some people get in. There were people asking for the link for the meeting because they're having trouble getting in, but I don't have access to that. If you have it and can put it in the chat box, then I can copy it and text it to the people that are trying to get in.
Let's see what we can do very quickly. So this page, what we have here is you have access to all the different Google sites that K-12 has developed. Each content area we have developed different resources. Everything is aligned to the standards. So as you can see, when you are on the Google site and you scroll all the way down, it gives you the links to all the other content areas. Let me see if I can access this and get the link, Ivana.
Somebody's already put it in here. So hopefully it'll work.
Oh, awesome.
We got great participants.
Okay, I'm gonna paste it again just in case that one doesn't work. Let me see if I can find the chat. Okay. And I'm gonna put it on one of the slides in case. I'm gonna put it in the slide with the map, just in case. Okay, so we have, oh, gato. Okay. Password there. So on that page with the K-12 Standards Curriculum and Instruction team, we have the different content areas, so you can access all the resources that each of those consultants have created, standard line, and most of them, there are, for example, if you go to the English Language Arts, that team has created choice boards, they have text sets and text sets with L support. So I would recommend that you go and check those resources. And then also math, they are working now on guidance for newcomers that take the math class. You know that we have this idea that math is the universal language, that don't worry about those kids in math, they're gonna be fine. But we know by experience that they need more support, they need some scaffolds, they need to learn the vocabulary, and sometimes the procedures are different. And that's why it's so hard for them to still even learn math. So we're working on that, newcomer guidance for one of our math consultants. So we're really excited about that. And then also NC Healthy Schools, they have, their Google site is wonderful because they have plenty of resources that might help you as educators take care of yourselves. Because I think that's the first thing that we need to do, and we're gonna mention in a few slides, is we need to take care of ourselves. What is the saying, Ivana? Put your mask first is what it is.
Yeah, put your oxygen mask on first when you're on the airplane before you try to help anybody else.
Yes, if you're not at your 100%, there is nothing else you can do. So you first need to stop, take care of yourself, and then you will be able to support others. So these NC Healthy Schools, they have a lot of resources that will help you on that. And then STEM, world languages, and other areas. So I invite you to look at that. I'm going to close this. So that's one of the resources that we have at the state level. And also we have, if you are a coordinator, you can see the guidance. What is it that I need to do if I'm in a new charter or I'm in a small district, I'm a new coordinator. What is it that I need to do to support the L program, to develop an L program in my district? So you will see that guidance there, and also all the testing documentation. How to identify English learners? What are the accommodations that they require? What are some samples of modifications? And also the long-term goals. So this is something that we all have access in our Google site. Ooh, okay. And then at the school level, and this is so important, and this is why we share anything that we share at the state level. We say everything is based on your L population. Your school district is who determines the first step based on the guidance that the state and the federal level have provided. Because each district, even though they share some characteristics, the populations are different, the staffing is different, the funding is different. So it's important that you first talk to your school district, you make sure that you know about the plans, everything that is being done locally, and then you incorporate the other things that we provide. So now some resources and opportunities. We have other links. So the links in the previous slide were like what we always have available. But then during these last 6 months, during COVID and all these difficulties and challenging situations that educators have faced, NCDPI created different resources. So we have linked here. For example, if we can open, and Ivana is going to share, I'm sure, the link to the remote learning resources, the main website for DPI. You will be able to see there. We also have in here housed all the resources from all the content areas. Each of us in our areas, we have our Google site and we have our resources, but we have linked everything to these Google sites. So if you want to share with your teams one resource, you can share this Google site because this one contains all the other materials that have been developed from the other sections.
So
here
Sally, I'm just going to interrupt because so many people are asking about getting the PowerPoint and having access to the recording. We're not giving you the PowerPoint right now because we're afraid we'll lose you on all these links. So we'll give you the PowerPoint. It will be posted on our website. I'll even give you the link at the end of the presentation if you want it. But we really don't want you going off and exploring everything right now while we're talking through some of the highlights. So this webinar is being recorded. It will be posted along with the PowerPoints with all the links. And again, I'll even give you the link at the end of the presentation, but just hang with us. We're giving you some of the links as we go along. So keep an eye on the chat and thank you for your eagerness. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Okay,
thank you. Yes, thank you. And we have the link to where we're going to add to all the archives later in the presentation, as Ivana said. So don't worry about that. You're going to get all these goodies. So the Google site, the remote resources Google site, we have resources here for instructional practices, leadership. If you are a school leader, you can find something here. You can find a directory, so you might want to contact somebody in the neighboring counties, then you can do that. We have professional development, and this is great because all the different divisions in the department have developed professional learning, and Ivan is going to share a lot of what we have done with our team. So that's something that is really good. And then different things that you can use for remote instruction. If you are new to any learning management system, we have tutorials here. And as I said, your school district will tell you, okay, we purchased, for example, Google Suite. We're going to use Google Classroom. So that's what you need to go by. So you need to make sure that IT is going to tell you in your school district, this is what we're doing, how we're doing, we're providing this training. And then if you want to learn more, then you can come here, for example, and you will find some tutorials on how to use Google Docs or different tools and how to embed all those in your Google Classroom. And the same if you're using another learning management system, Canvas or Microsoft. So it depends on what your school district is doing. And then other different things that you have here. And also you can tell us if you have questions or suggestions like, oh, I find all this information about this, but my school district is working on this specifically and we have limited resources. So can you provide more? So we are able to do that when you complete these forms.
And I'm just thinking, if you've used these resources, just type in the chat box something that you used and how it was helpful, just so that we can hear back from you, because as Ashley said, a lot of work went in not only to this website, but then to the websites that each of the different sections did, or each of the different content areas did. So you're probably pretty familiar with the ESL site. A lot of hours went into that, and then compiling all of this as well. And so we hope that the time that was spent pulling these together for you guys really was useful, and that we really were offering the kinds of things that were helpful to you. So if you've used some of these materials, just feel free to type something in the chat box. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, and then other links. As schools were preparing for reentry, DPI had this document, the Lighting Our Way Forward, North Carolina's guidebook for reopening public schools. So where it explained the different plans and the different considerations, but I'm sure because most of the schools have started, you already have all this information, but we have the links so you will be able to access. Maybe you just got the final decisions in your district, but you're one of those that want to go and learn a little more and see like, hey, this is where this directive came from, then you have all that information there as well. And then we link the UNCTV partnership. I'm gonna open it later in the next slide. And then we have explored our Google site. And Ivana mentioned that that's true. We hope that all of you have been able to access our Google site. If you have sent us email or completed the survey saying, hey, we need more information on these specifics. So we appreciate that because this website is for you guys. We work on this and we try to add relevant information that we knew was gonna help you during remote instruction, but sometimes we miss some of the pieces, and this is when it's so important when we have our trainers and the L teacher network, because they are the ones that provide feedback and they help us grow as well as the ELAC. So visit this website. We have changed, we have more resources. If you are, for example, in a DLI program, then we have added some other resources. So it's so many resources that you can get lost. But if you think that there is something else that we need, or if you say, oh, they have this resource, but we would like to have more direct activities or more resources focusing on that specific resource, then we are going to be able to do it, but we need that feedback from you guys. And we also have something that is really cool, and we are updating this, is the low to no tech resources, because we know that during these 6 months, we have learned a lot about the connectivity and how some of our families don't have internet. So despite creating all these wonderful virtual classrooms and all the work that we have, then we still need to target those that might not have internet access, or they might access through their phone. So if we send them videos, then we're gonna finish their data in a matter of hours. So then we have to consider that. So we have been updating this, and we are in the process of updating. If you have resources we can add as well, just send it to us and we'll put those in there. And going back to the presentation, also the guidance for provisional English learner. This is the most maybe important month for all ESL teachers, because we are receiving a lot of kids that are moving from another county, from another state, and possibly if they had moved before closing our borders, they were in the country and now they are in our schools. So you will have that information there. And Susan Walls, and you're gonna get her information at the end of the presentation. She is fantastic answering all the questions and giving all the information about this, because she is our L data specialist. So Ivana and I, we kind of support someone, we can give you some information, but she's the one that will be able to go to Power School and make changes and get you the right information that you need. If you are a coordinator. And if you're a teacher, remember you need to talk to your coordinator and make sure that you follow the procedures that they have in place. But this guidance might help you understand again, why is it that we do what we need to do. So we go to the next slide.
And I was just going to say, we did get a response that someone used the resources and really loved them. So it's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now this slide shares DPI partner with UNCTV and the Friday Institute to offer professional learning for our educators. So I'm going to open this, and we offer a webinar in Spanish as part of this partnership to show for parents, because this partnership, the at-home learning with UNCTV, offer curriculum that is curriculum form programs, and they offer some of the programs with additional resources like worksheets that the teachers could use with the students, and recommend to the parents like, oh, if you're watching this TV show, there are these resources available so you can practice with the kids, maybe a hands-on activity you're going to create. I don't know, a show that is a monsters, and then you're going to create a monster. And then as you do this and you create those connections with the family and learning, they are practicing vocabulary and expression. So it's a lot. It's a win-win for everyone. So PBS Media, they started having these webinars for parents where they show the parents like, hey, we have all this programming. It's ready for you. It's available. It's free. If you don't have a TV, because it doesn't require any subscription, you can watch it. But if you don't have TV, you can still watch it on your phone. You can play some of the programming on any other device if you have internet, or you can download some of the resources and work with those. So we were trying to tell parents like those resources were available, and we show how, and we're going to link as well. You will have the link to that webinar in Spanish, because it was in Spanish. It was targeting parents and caregivers. So if you want to look at it and you want to share with those families that are Spanish speakers, then that will be a really good resource, because everything is still live. They are updating now. BPS is creating more resources and webinars for teachers in which they show them how to use the different shows in their instruction. So that's really neat. And we have this for free. So we hope that everyone can use it. And then the other one is the Friday Institute. And I know Ivana is going to share the link with you. And
I just want to keep encouraging, if you've used any of these resources, go ahead and type in the chat box. Let us know that you've used them. Let us know how you used them, how they were received. We'd like to make sure you're still with us.
I know. And now this one, the partnership with the Friday Institute. The Friday Institute with NC State University, they have designed several online trainings for our educators. So you can see here the remote learning to support NC educators. That was the main focus of this partnership. And these are some of the classes they developed. So we have remote learning for elementary students, for secondary students, digital literacy and remote learning, focus on leadership. And this focus on leadership is great because it helps if you are a lead teacher or a school leader, an administrator, you learn which are those tools that you can use with your team so they can enhance their instruction. They can incorporate some technology, make their lessons more interactive for the students, because that's what our ELs need the most during this online and remote instruction, is that interaction, because they always love that connection, and this gives a lot of tools of how you can continue that. And addressing English language learners with remote learning, addressing learning differences with remote learning. SEL and Ivana is going to share a fantastic surprise with you in a few minutes about SEL. And we have these programs that are how to develop for yourself. And then once you have learned about your social and emotional skills, how you can help your students develop those skills as well. So these are really good, and these are free, self-paced trainings that you can start. And there are many ESL teachers taking this. We particularly sign up for a couple of these trainings in our team, and we have a lot of ESL teachers there. And it was amazing how they were making those connections, remote learning, and this is how you can do with ELs and how you support content area teachers. So we really recommend this. It's available, it's free. So please take advantage of that. And not only for you, as Ivana said before when we started the session, is take this year as your goal. Every time that you participate in a webinar for ESL instruction or for support for ELs, or you complete one of these courses, that you share with somebody, another teacher who is a content area teacher, so they understand that all teachers are teachers of ELs. So I'm going to close this and see if now we have Super Ivana.
Well, we do have a few people that said that they have taken some of those courses. We have some people that want to know more about the Spanish resources at the NCTV, and also just really praising the Friday Institute for being so ready when things shut down. They were there. So it's great to know that some of you are familiar with these resources. If you haven't used them, we really encourage you to go out and use them. I know I signed up for the SEL course and have yet to finish it, but we've all got a lot on our plates. But sometimes taking the time to take a course about something like SEL and learning how the social emotional needs are for us and for our students can really help us even in the very next day or as we're planning our lessons that night. So I know it might seem like saying, oh my gosh, that's one more thing in the middle of how overwhelmed you might already be. Sometimes those pieces are actually what help you get past some of that overwhelm. And so we just wanted to make sure that we shared those resources. All right, she said I'm next. Am I next?
1 second. I just linked the webinar, Ivana, on slide 10. If you want to share that in the chat, because you said that they were asking about the resources in Spanish.
Mhm.
I'm just going to show. This is the website that houses the webinar that we offer in Spanish. It was active learning with littles in Spanish, and it was aprendizaje en casa. And it's 1 hour, and it navigates through the different programs that BPS offers. And at the end, there are links to tutorials. So if your parents don't know how to sign up for an account in BPS and access all these resources that are free, but they still need an account, then there are tutorials so they can sign up. And because the website, the interface in some of the sections isn't still in English, but those tutorials will walk them through so they know what to do. And this is the webinar, and we were really excited because one of our trainers, Christian Walter, he was part of this. He helped us with the partnership, and he also recorded a few video clips. So if you watch TV, you might have seen him saying, encouraging families and Spanish-speaking students to, we got this. We are going through challenging times, and you might not be seeing your teachers, but we are here for you. We're working. So it was really nice and touching to see. And the goal of this was having someone they could relate, because Christian is from Argentina, so his first language is Spanish, and he is one of our assistant principals in the West, and we're really proud of him. So it was really powerful to see him creating these video recordings for UNCTV. So I think we have one share, but we might find the other links and see if you can access those, and you share those, because the students, they need to know that there is more, there is a future. And we always say that they need to learn that they're in the school, but we are career oriented. So they need to learn that there is more there. And when they see somebody in that kind of position that speak their language, they learn that their language is an asset and not a barrier. And that's something that we always try to tell our kids. And not only Spanish speakers, because I know some people say, but hey, there are many other languages. And yes, there are 342 languages in the state, according to the last head count. But the majority, our top 5, the number 1 is Spanish. So we have developed several resources for them, but we never disregard the other languages. So we always try to support everyone.
So we do have an excited participant that wants to confirm the hashtag. It would be hashtag NCLs. Is that correct?
Yes.
We're using. All right, I just put it in the chat. Capital N, capital C, capital E, capital L, lowercase s. Hashtag NCLs. Thank you for tweeting.
Okay, awesome.
You're still on this next one.
Now
Yep,
it's me. Okay,
it's still you.
I'm about to pass the ball to Super Ivana. So these are some opportunities that we have, more resources. I know it's a lot of resources, and sometimes it's like, oh my God, too many resources. But we really encourage you to go and explore these, and just choose one that gets your attention, and go with it, because it's so powerful. Every single session. We have here the support summer conference. We finished last Friday, and Ivan is going to tell you everything about it. And now we are starting today the fall PD series, and we're really happy because we have DPI leads in each of the sessions, and we have a special guest, Dr. John LaChance. So we're really excited about that. And then I'm going to talk about sponsorships. And that's something else that we are offering. We have been offering sponsorships for the last 2 years, and we will have the link to the webinar added to the presentation when we upload it to our website. We don't have it yet, but on August 25th, we're going to have the webinar where we are going to share how the sponsorships will look this year. So we have planned 7 or 8, we have selected 7 or 8 events, and DPI will sponsor your registration fee. And if you need a substitute teacher, we are going to cover for that. But we are going to offer only virtual events because we want to take care of you. We want to make sure that we would love to be able to send you somewhere else across the nation, but we don't want you to be at risk. So we decided to offer during the first semester, fall and part of the winter, only virtual events. But we have selected so many really good events that is super exciting. And to save the date, August 25th, next week, we are on Tuesday, we are going to offer this webinar telling every single thing about the sponsorships. We're going to have some DPI leads because all participants are going to work on developing an artifact or a resource. It could be an infographic or something that will benefit other teachers in the field that may not be able to participate. So stay tuned. August 25th is the webinar. We're going to share that. And this is an opportunity that is open not only for ESL teachers, but content area teachers. Again, as we have said since the beginning, if you want to attend and you can invite another content area teacher, do it. If you have a team and you're like, I've been working with these teachers, they're fantastic, I want them to have this opportunity, that's the perfect way to do it. So stay tuned for that next Tuesday.
And if you've been on a sponsorship before, go ahead and type about it in the chat so other people can see it too. Had some very exciting experiences with the sponsorships up until now. There's some really good artifacts that have come out of those sponsorships. We'll have a special newsletter coming out sometime soon with some of the wonderful products that have come out from the people who have attended these conferences, things that we can share with all of you to help enhance your work. So please, if you've been on one of those trips as a been sponsored before, share it with us in the chat.
All right.
I have to talk every once in a while so Zachary can breathe. So
I don't think I keep going, but it's exciting. It's exciting sharing all what the team has been developing this year. We have our networking opportunities now. We have the Facebook group, and we can share the link. So I won't open it because I want you to get all the information, learn about SEL for ELs. So I want to keep going. But also the L Teacher Network. We are going to have a webinar on August 24th. It's next Monday. And it's part of this fall series. And we're going to learn what the network is about, how you can join, how you can collaborate, contribute. And then we're going to learn about the platform Go Open and See. That is one of the state initiatives for teachers to be able to share resources and high quality resources that have been proven to be effective in the classroom. So we're really excited about that. Let me continue to see if we can hear Ivana. So collaboration is the key. We have been talking about how we have these different layers of guidance at the federal, the state, and the public schools, and how they collaborate, they work together. But again, is how can we create everything that works for our ELs and help them? It's just collaborating, it's working together. School leaders, they are up to date with all the information that we share, and they share with you. You teachers, please, ESL teachers, share with your content area teachers. And then you also work, and all educators work on your student social, emotional, and academic needs. Is more, every person who has been an ESL teacher, sorry, you know that you are teaching the language and you're teaching the academic part, but it's so much that love, that social, emotional connection with your students. And they're your kids. At the end of the year, they're your kids. They graduate and they're your kids, and you're proud when you see them. They're just recently arrived with just 2-3 words, and then you see them 6 months, 1 month, 1 year, or in a few years later, and they are just wonderful students and using the language. So it's so powerful. And then the ESL team, we continue creating and facilitating professional learning for all you, all these opportunities, the sponsorships, the network. And again, we have the link, and you will get access to this, the link to the Facebook group, the link to the registration link. And as I was saying, Monday 24th, at 3:30 is Together for Else, connect, collaborate, and contribute will go open and see. So please sign up. We'll see you there. The Digital Teaching and Learning Division and K-12, we have partnered to work on these, and we are really excited to be able to offer this as one of the initiatives in the state. We're going to use Go Open to support our ESL teachers. And if
So if you're already part of the teacher network, you can type that in the chat as well. We have a thank you to NCDPI for all the amazing opportunities that we provide. We have a couple of people that have had sponsorships. We had one person that wrote in all capital letters no to my question, have you had a sponsorship? Had some people whose trips might have been impacted by COVID, but I appreciate the fact that we've been able to offer these sponsorships and really grow capacity across the state. So keep your eye out, like she mentioned, for all these different opportunities and continue to get involved. Again, I know it may sound like we're asking you to do one more thing when you already have so much going on with the new school year, but really being able to be with a group of like-minded professionals who are going through the same thing that you are, like the Teacher Network provides, and having those resources and having people that you can sort of use as your sounding blocks is so powerful. So our goal is to create these resources to help you, not just to give you something else to do. So we look forward to hearing how they serve you.
Yes, and I think I moved next slide. More considerations for remote instruction. So some things, and the first and most important thing is just move one day at a time and together. We're emphasizing collaboration and working together. And that's what our teacher network is called, Together for Else, because together we are better, together we are stronger, and together we are louder. So we have a few more considerations, and is the social emotional skills again. Take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. Set schedules that allow you to take breaks, have some transitions. The things that you used to do in school, if you were going to pick up your students and come back to your classroom, then walk them back to maybe their specials. Those things, try to create those moments in your daily routine now at home, if you are one of those that are continuing at home. And if you are in the school, take that time and give yourself some grace, because again, it's important that you take care of yourself so you can give the best to others. So, and then potential types of ESL, we have some other information here that we thought you might have. Some of you have started school, so your districts might have all these, but then you can have a more informed and maybe select some other options from these ones if some apply to your population and what you're doing in your districts. But we have different opportunities for students in which they communicate with the ESL teacher using an LMS, could be Canvas or Google Classroom or any other LMS, learning management system. Co-planning with your content area teachers. More than ever, this is the opportunity to talk to your colleagues and say, what are we going to do for these kids? Because we can have them in front of a screen for 8 hours, but if we have 1 hour that is so meaningful and they have the L support, the scaffolds that they need, that will be enough for that child, and not the concern of like, oh no, we're not covering all these different subjects and all this curriculum. And yes, that's the goal, but we need to go there one day at a time. So that's kind of like the message that we want to give you. And schedule some time for them to come to you for additional support if that's possible, if that's within your schedule and you can help them. And then make some time for networking and collaboration with other teachers. And you saw the link to the Facebook group. Just join and follow. You don't have to participate. As I said, sometimes at the beginning, we just follow and see the different resources. And then with time, we start participating more actively. Just do that if that's how you feel it's what you want to do now. But we're sharing really cool resources there. And
well,
also,
you know, Sally, I have to interrupt you because not only are you sharing really good resources on the Facebook group, you guys, there are people whose names you see on books who are giving conferences that have joined that group. So you could be talking to Andrea Honingsfeld. I'm trying to think who else is on there. I know Andrea joined.
Carol Salva is there,
Carol Salva's on
Valentina,
there.
Larry
Valentina.
Lasso.
Yep. Oh, there
La
he is.
Virgen
There we go.
Paso.
Yep.
Yeah.
So some of the names of the people that you read and go, oh, when you read the names, they're members of this Facebook group and they are participating. They're actually responding and interacting with us like normal people. It's so cool.
I know. It's
So
so
another
cool.
reason to join is just the opportunity to interact with some of the big names in our field. It's just a bonus.
Yeah, that's true, Ivana. Thank you. And family and community engagement opportunities. There's a ton of different digital tools that districts are using, but just be mindful of the ones that you're using. Choose one that you know your parents are familiar with that will help them be in touch with you, and offer some hours so they can talk to you. But again, setting some boundaries, just some limits that they know that you are there for them, but at certain times, because you also need to take care of yourself and your families. And then I swear this is the last, I promise it's the last slide, Ivana, so then we go to the SEL. So I'm excited about the SEL too. So let me go. Okay, the next one. So more considerations. And I talked at the beginning about the EdTech to support ELS, the toolkit that was designed by the Department of Education. And it's fantastic. It helps you identify an LMS with digital tools that are recommended for ELS support. Um, it gives you some information, and this is very important because it gives you the information about federal law that we need to learn during remote instruction. We always need to use this, but during remote instruction, even more than ever, because they'll talk about FERPA, they talk about COPA and SIPA. And what is all that? Well, FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And this act protects the privacy of student education records. So that means that our families, they don't want their records to be shared. Some of them might be scared because they could be undocumented, or their immigration situation is uncertain, so they don't want to be in fear. So you can help them understand that there are laws from the federal government that your school is putting in place to protect their privacy, to protect their information, that you're not sharing that with anybody else. And then COPA is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And what it does is, that every time that, and this is why it's so important that you go through your IT when you are talking about apps that you can use with your families and students, because all apps, even if they're free and even if they're paid, when they're paid, they have a little more control. But when they're free, we don't have control of the information that is disclosed, that personal information from children. And this COPA, what it does is it makes sure that the data, all the information from these kids are under age, maybe 13, I think it's 13, they are protected. So when they click the terms, we never read the terms of services when we download an app. The term of services is telling you the app is requiring the student location, that if the device has connectivity, they might track their location, they might have any other information, their email, their names. So it's important to know about these laws and not to scare anyone, but to be aware and be careful with what we put online, because anyone is online, anybody can be there. So it's important to have this. And SIPA is the other law that you can find in this toolkit, and it's the Children's Internet Protection Act. And what it does is it talks about how we can protect children, and it talks about the content that they can access online. So we don't want them to go to certain websites. And I know when I was in the classroom, it was the same. I hated every time that I did it, updated the filter, because then I won't be able to play some of my YouTube videos or play some of the apps that I was working on my iPads, because the filter was updated. And then, but that was part of that SIPA guidance. Like, you need to make sure that kids don't have access to content that is harmful for them. So it's important to learn about those and help kids understand. And I added a link here, and I promise I'll be quick, Ivana. I think it's in the slide, but Common Sense Education, they have developed a curriculum for digital citizenship. and they show you the different skills. So what does it mean to be online? How do I protect my information? How do I communicate the netiquette that they call, and those different skills that we need online? Kids have learned that, but some of them now, they are more online most of the time, so they need to learn those things. And common sense education is really cool. If you see the second tab, it says EdTech ratings and reviews. What it does is they look at the different apps, the digital tools, and they write reviews, but with an educational lens. So they tell you, okay, this is what this is for and how you can use it to work on X content area or to work on X thinking high order thinking skills. I can do blah, blah. I'm going, it's the last slide, Ivan. I'm not that better. Okay. So, and see which skills you can help the kids develop with those technology tools. Because remember, it's not the tool, it's what you want the kid to learn. That's your goal. The technology is just one tool that you're going to incorporate in your instruction. So let me close this. And again, all these links are there. And instructional strategies, I won't work a lot on this because Ivana is going to give you plenty of strategies that our trainers have shared during the summer conference. But very briefly, short content-based sessions. As I said, if you before were working with your kids for 8 hours or 1 hour or 20 minutes in our ESL pullouts, just try to see how you can make connections with your content area teachers and provide something meaningful, but it's more not like they're going to be like, oh my God, 8 hours on a computer, and provide activities that help them interact, that personal connection, that interaction with others and building relationships is still there. And if there are kids that don't have internet, then plan some activities for them that the parents can, even if it's a PDF doesn't require a lot of internet data, so the parents can look on their phone, or if you're printing those packages, or if the kids are going to pick up the packages at school, then you have those, and be flexible with assignments and with everything. So now let's learn about SEL for else, Ivana.
All right. So before we start that, I just want to say you got a great shout out on the Facebook page. And I've noticed that a couple of things are going into the Q&A instead of the chat. Q&A only comes to us, I think is how it works. And I'm having trouble watching Q&A and chat. So if you could try to stick to the chat to everyone, that would be great. We have been putting links in as we have talked about the different things. And I have to keep making sure I've got mine going to everyone and not just to one person. So we are going to talk about social emotional learning. So I know I can't see you, but you can see me. And I bet we've all been sitting way too long and we need a little bit of blood flow. So everybody needs to stand up and stretch, get some blood flowing. Look at how Zatley and I matched today. Didn't we do a good job?
I know.
So stretch, move around a little bit, get some blood flow in your body. We've only got 30 minutes to go and I don't want you to fall asleep on me. All right, you can sit back down if you would like to. So one of the things Zatley said earlier is, as you're setting your schedule, try to make sure that you have breaks. And I know so often if I have a break on my calendar, someone will throw a meeting right in there. And so I have been known to show up late for meetings or to excuse myself from a meeting a little bit early because I need 10 minutes to have my little bio break. And then for my dog that you met earlier to take me for a quick walk, a quick lap around the pond so that I can get blood flow going and get my brain working. And sometimes it doesn't work. My doctor wants me getting up every 20 minutes, and we've been sitting for an hour. So little tiny things like that. Even if you're doing it with your students, have them put those interactions. Use that TPR. How many of you know defenestrate? If you've been in meetings with me with PSYOP, having your students doing those interactions, getting that blood flowing and moving around is so important. Now, Zatley said it was a surprise, but if you read the listserv message that came out, maybe 2 hours ago now, you saw the announcement about the social emotional considerations for English learners, the SEL. Let me put it in the chat box. The SEL materials that have come out from the state. So you can see in the picture before we go to the link, these materials are looking at the WIDA standards. They're looking at the content area supports, and then they're also looking at breaking those standards down. should all be familiar with them, social and instructional, and then language arts, math, science, and social studies, and looking at specific ways that we can tie the social emotional standards in with the different standards from WIDA. So if you'll go ahead and click on that first link, Sally, I put it in the chat box already. And if you'll make it a little bit larger. So each of the content areas at DPI have done something, and you'll see the acknowledgments for each one will be very similar. We're working with a group called Castles, which is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, Castles. And we've worked with them with other things like Linguafolio, if you're familiar with them. So the state is working with Castles, and each of the different content areas have worked to show how our standard course of study can be enhanced and embedded with social emotional learning. So some of us have been putting this out. We're getting ready to do a big, we had a meeting today. We're getting ready to do this big push from the state as a whole, but they wanted us to go ahead and get this out to you guys. So if you scroll on down, lots of research, you know, that kind of stuff. So then on the next page, we talk about, oops, the different, up one page.
Up, okay.
We talk about the different pieces within Castles, the self-awareness and self-management, the social awareness. You have to scroll because I don't remember them all. There you go. The relationship skills, responsible decision making. So we really want to look at when we're thinking about English learners, and that second column talks about when you're in that EL classroom, what are things that you can do to really tie what you're teaching? Stop! This is what it's like when we're in the office together too.
Exactly what it is.
Really tie together what you're doing in the classroom with what the needs are of your students. So we know that as educators, we have specific things going on in our lives, and we want to be able to take what we're teaching in the English language and tie it to our students' real lives. So what's happening with self-management? What's happening with social awareness and relationship skills? So now you can go to the next page. So on the top right, you see this little wheel, and the wheel shows social and emotional learning in the center. And then around the sides, it shows those different topics that we just talked about. And they're color coded, yellow, green, and orange. And that will be important when we get further into our document. So if you look at the first part of this document, as we said, across the top, you've got the WIDA standards, the content areas, and then the strategies. If you'll scroll down a little bit more. So for each of the WIDA standards, we have given connections to other content supports and also to things that you might recognize from SIOP, background building, comprehensible input, looking at ways that you can start to embed the social emotional learning with the WIDA standards as they are now. If you keep scrolling down, we'll get into the color-coded piece that we were mentioning above. And I'm not sure if Luann Llewellyn is on today or not, but she helped us with some of this and was the one that pointed out that the color coding might help us, that we can look at the wheel and tie it back here. Be still. So, so we'll look at self-management. So a sample activity in self-management would be teaching self-management techniques. Okay, it could be counting to 10. It could be ways to help our students calm down. You do that by modeling, by visuals, by written words. These are things that we do all the time in our ESL classroom, but we might not think about them as being social emotional learning, or we might be in the moment where something's happening and we don't think to tap back into specific social emotional learning strategies. So you can just keep scrolling now to your heart's content. You'll see that they're color coded red, green, orange, yellow, green to match the wheel with some different activities. Now, this is a document that is living. So as we begin to use it in the field, you might say, you know, I've got this great idea. Can we add that? Or that idea really didn't make sense to me. How can you clarify it? So one of the things that Luann also did, and if you'll go ahead and go to the other link that's on the slide, I will put it in the chat box. So as Luann was helping me work through some things at the beginning of this project, whoops, it sent, but it didn't go. She began to build her own tool because for her, that's what made sense, that if she was going to use this, or if she was going to help me work through it, that she needed to actually work through it herself. So hopefully that link went through. Did it?
I tried to paste it too.
Okay. So she began working with it, taking that color coding again for the different pieces, and she began to break it into an activity that she could do during the required online days that they have with the students. And so she broke it down, looking at the different levels from WIDA. So not just looking at what does the standard say, but what can those levels do, those language proficiency levels. So if you look, for example, at day 1, she's looking at self-awareness, identifying emotions, self-perceptions. And she's taken each of these different proficiency levels and said, okay, what can these students do? And how can I integrate that into a lesson? So for an entering proficiency level student, I know my feelings, I know my strengths, I can grow. She's also added some of that TPR that we were talking about. You're pointing to your heart, you're doing something with your arms, you're interacting, and you're scaffolding that for each of the different levels that a student has in proficiency. So we wanted to share this with you, and this is in the listserv message that went out today as well. We wanted to share this sample with you because when you look at that document, again, with everything else that's going on in your minds right now, when you look at the original document, you might be like, okay, but what do I do with it? Someone put in the chat box earlier, thanks for all these great resources, but where do I start? And my response was, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. So if something grabs your attention, start with that and take a look at that. And so we thought, well, it might mean more to you to look at a potential plan and scroll down. I think there's a few more pages in that one. To look at a potential plan than to just look at the charts. So there's also resources that are added here. There are hyperlinks that go to a number of different resources that match the different lessons. And Luann's going to be continuing to work on this, and she's willing to share with us whatever she does. As you begin to work with the SEL documents, we'd love to see what you have as well. But I know for me, the way my brain works, it would help me more to look at Luann's work and see how she's putting it into place. And then I would backtrack and go back to the other document and say, oh, that's what they meant in this document. So this is just one sample of something you could do with it, with great resources that you can already pull from. And I didn't see, let me look at the chat. I don't see that Luann is here, but I just want to give her a shout out for all that work she did as she helped me get my brain wrapped around it itself. Okay.
All right.
So again, your assignment, and I hope the dog doesn't go off. Again, your assignment is, as you get into these resources, not only use them yourself, but please share them with the content teachers. It should look familiar to them as they get to know the SEL resources that have come out that are paralleled with their standard course of study, and just help them see that these are resources that they can use as well. So any comments or thoughts about that before we move on? Oh, good. Someone likes them.
Yeah, these resources are fantastic.
We'll take it. Again, it is something that is in process for the state as a whole. We had, there were actually 2 meetings today. I'm missing the second meeting because of the webinar. But we're really trying to get our communications plan out and really get this out into the field in bulk, not just for each of the content areas. But we wanted to share them with you today. We were excited we were able to get that listserv message out, so the world is aware of this now. So the last part of our meeting today is just a really, really brief overview. You can go on to the next slide. A really brief overview of the summer conference that we just completed. And the reason that it's a brief overview is because coming up on September, I have to look up my date, 14th, I believe it is.
14th, yes.
On September 14th from 3:30 to 5, we're going to be doing a full hour and a half talking about these resources. But we wanted to go ahead and make you aware of them. So I would love for you to type in the chat box if you attended any of these sessions, and if you did, what you got out of it, just so others can see it as well. But we've been talking a lot about advocacy and about the voice for English learners. So you can see here on the left that Simone Wartenberger from Henderson County was our keynote speaker for our opening session. And she talked about use your voice. So talking about being an advocate for your students, being a voice where a voice might not be heard. You also see here the program book and the flyer, and those should all be hyperlinked so that when you get the PowerPoint, you can go in and look at those if you'd like. You can see we had a power-packed summer with the EL support team offering all of these different sessions. You also see right under where it says summer conference, the bit.ly for all of these materials, NCL's 20 materials. One of the exciting things about funding things with Title III is not only can we share them with you, we have to make them public. And so we have shared the materials from all of these trainings on this website, the PowerPoints, the handouts, sometimes other pieces of resources, virtual door prizes that one of the groups did. All of those materials are there for you. They're there for you to view. They're there for you to steal. They're there for you to adapt and use them in your own context. And so we hope that you will do that. If you go to the next slide, the next few slides, we're just going to talk a very little bit about these resources, about what happened in the summer. And if someone did attend and wants to type things as we go to let others know what they experienced, that is welcome. I'm on two screens, and so like half the time I can't find my mouse.
Yeah, we have some people.
When you see me
that-
looking really confused, it's like I can't find my mouse.
Yeah, we have some attendees attended the Acquiring Minds Want to Grow, and they
Great.
love the brain research. They attended the co-teaching and SciUp. Those were great. They had also participated in the Accesses course, and the sessions were fantastic. And now we have also the digital prescription for 2020 vision of SciUp, great resources and lots of tech tools.
Great. So glad to know that some of you actually got to attend these. And again, in the webinar coming up in September, we'll be going into depth with each of these, talking about what happened, what kind of feedback we received from our participants, looking at some of the resources and how you can use them. But we wanted to go ahead and make sure you're aware of them now. So Common Space for Co-Teaching for ELS was the very first one to, out of the gates for the training. And some of the feedback we got on this was how much people appreciated seeing co-teaching remotely, because these two trainers did all of their planning and all of their training from two different parts of the state. So one of them is in Eastern North Carolina, one of them is in Western North Carolina, and they played off each other so well. They were able to plan, they were able to show how they could work remotely very effectively. So you can see on day one what took place. They moved on in day two, and then by day three, they were really getting into reflecting on the practices. And when you see that e-journal, when you click on that e-journal is really the handouts and sort of the overview of the entire presentation. So you can watch the archive. Oh, she's going to go. You can watch the archive, but you can also work through the e-journal as you go. So you can see there are hyperlinks to different aspects of the course, and then each of the different pages has room for you to reflect and write about what's happening in the course that day. And one of the things I love about our trainers is that each of our trainers come at things in a very different way. So this e-journal was one of the great resources that you received from here, with hyperlinks and also information about what took place. And if you watch the archive, you can go back to the main slide. If you watch the archive, you can see in a remote environment how these people are co-teaching for their English learners. And again, back to that challenge, bring one of your content teachers along to watch this with you and talk about how you guys can partner up and co-teach where that's possible. The Acquiring Minds Want to Grow. I saw several people did say something in the chat box.
Nothing else.
Several things in the chat box. It's all about brain research and how are we growing our brains and how are we growing our students' brains with multiple pathways. And so the Acquiring Minds Want to Grow, one of the comments was help from actual North Carolina teachers in their current learning context. And so how powerful that is to hear from people that are in the classroom themselves or are supporting the classroom teachers. I'm not sure what's happening with the PowerPoint. Okay, so the next slide. Our next two sessions, how to engage EL families during remote learning. So another one of the sessions that we have coming up in this fall series is also about engaging families. Marshall Foster will be doing that one. But here we had two of our trainers talking about ways that we can meet the needs of families in this remote time. We know that sometimes it can be challenging even when they're coming into the schools to really interact with our families. And again, we really want to help encourage our content area teachers, our administrators, as well as our ESL teachers to learn more about how to engage these families. And they did such a great job with this, with interactive ways that you can work with the families, with suggestions, with supports. Let's see, it said that it was an amazing conference and they learned a lot. The other hosts were very knowledgeable. And so we do have very knowledgeable trainers, and we were thrilled to see this course. This course was something we were kind of going back and forth on, determining if we were going to run it or not. And it was the first one to max out, and it had a waiting list that was even larger than the number that had gotten into the course. So we know that that's a need in the field, and it is there for you to be able to go back and look in the archives. Another thing that a lot of people have been asking for is data. Data. How do you work with your EL data? So we had 3 sessions on access scores. They were divided into elementary, secondary, and ESL. And the elementary and the secondary were designed specifically for content teachers, but by golly, you guys, about half of each of those courses was filled with, guess what? ESL teachers. So it's great. We're really glad that you all want to know more about these things, but they were written specifically for our content teachers, and we are working hard to try to get more and more of our content teachers in. We're going to be doing some more creative marketing this year through the content areas at DPI to try to maybe not even tell you guys in ESL that we're doing something. So that we can get the content teachers in there. But talked about, how do you interpret the access scores? How do you teach your teachers to use them? And specifically, how do you match your strategies for teaching your ELs to the proficiency levels? So there's a very important way, very important trainings. And so again, these are archived and you can pull from them. I see a number of comments, people that have used these or enjoyed them, found something useful. It's awesome. Keep going.
And feel free to type in the chat if you have ideas of how we can reach out to other educators, and it's not just ESL teachers, because that's our goal. So
Good.
yeah,
Some of them had some administrators that attended the EL families one. That's wonderful. The more that we can have bottom up and top down engagement with our English learners, the better off we are. Now, the next one, Glimpse at GLAD, is the only one that you're not going to find the resources online. And the reason for that is it's copyrighted materials through Orange County Department of Education, California. I have to get OCDE GLAD. So those materials are not public because of the agreements that we have with them. But if you have been through the GLAD training, we are working on a number of resources that will be available to you as someone who has been through the Glimpse of GLAD or through the Tier 1 trainings. So you're not out of luck as far as having supports or being able to review some of those materials, but those will not be up live. So if you want to know more about GLAD, which is a fantastic way to help all your students, but especially to help your English learners really be able to scaffold their learnings using visuals, using vocabulary. It works very well with SIOP, which happens to be the other thing on this slide. We have some districts in the state that actually use SIOP and GLAD together very effectively, but it is just fascinating. It's very structured, whereas SIOP is like, here's the checklist, now go do it. GLAD is very structured, and there are different progressions that you want to work with in certain cases to make sure that the students are building appropriately. And it's very exciting to watch it happen in the classroom.
And
So GLAD.
Right, with co-teaching. Sorry, Ivana.
Go ahead.
With co-teaching as well, because it's how you incorporate all the content using the language. So when we have those partnerships, when we have had in the Glimpse of GLAD, content area teacher and an ESL teacher, that has been fantastic, because they have those 2 areas of expertise, and then they put it together, and then you can see how, following the structure of GLAD, your students can excel. It's just fantastic.
And I think one of the cool things about GLAD is you can take our Glimpse of GLAD and leave there and be able to do great things in the classroom. But it is one of the few things that I have seen out there where they really make sure that the people who are trained in GLAD have a deep understanding and that it's sustained. And then if you become a GLAD trainer, so there's 3 different tiers of training. We have a number of people, I think we're up to 10 or 11 in the state now, that have gone through all the tiers of training and are GLAD trainers. But they not only go through the course themselves, but they actually get to work in the classroom and see it in action from someone who who's been trained in it for a long time, and then they get to test it out themselves and try it with someone coaching them through. So it's a very powerful process. We have in the past been able to sponsor some people to go through the GLAD training. And so that's something else we'll see as this year goes along if we're able to do that or not. But just keep your eyes out for that. And we've heard such great things about what's happening with GLAD. Again, SIOP, something that's been around in the state of North Carolina for a very long time as a state-led initiative. So I didn't write a whole lot about it there, but making content comprehensible for our English learners. And as we know, everything you do when you're working with the SIOP model helps all of your students, working with those 8 components, working with that background building, making sure there's interaction in your class, looking at comprehensible input, 3 of the ones that we're going to talk about actually on the next slide. And so when we're thinking about SIOP, and we're thinking about this digital environment in this SIOP course, and then the next, and then in the next SIOP course, which was a digital prescription for 2020 vision of SIOP, was taking those 3 particular parts of SIOP, the interaction, the background building, and the comprehensible input, and looking at what are some of the programs that are out there, what are some ways that we can enhance background building or enhance interaction by using technology, because as was pointed out earlier, the technology is not the end in of itself. The technology is a tool to help us do the things that we're already trying to do with our students. So the 2020 Vision of SIOP was the last course in the conference. It just wrapped up on Friday. So our summer conference went for a whole month this year across the board. And we have so much going on that not only did we have the summer conference, but we also had the opportunity for one of our trainers to work specifically with CTE during their conference as well. So there were 2 presentations using SIOP and also the can-do approach from WIDA that were presented in CTE. And this is a relationship we've had going on for a couple of years, where we've been able to try to enhance the CTE instructors' understanding of working with their English learners, because we know many of our English learners, when they get to high school, are participating in the CTE courses. So that's a lot of little information. Hopefully it's a teaser that will make you want to join us in September. I think that's the next slide. Yes. So in September, many of our courses are wide open. Registration is unlimited. And this is today and then this summer conference highlight are 2 examples of that. Registration is unlimited. Please share it with everybody you know, especially your content area teachers and your administrators. We're going to walk through it in more detail. Now, normally we would have our trainers joining us and talking through their own courses. But as part of the team, our trainers are contracted in a way that they have to take a month off. So starting Friday, they're off for a month, and then we'll just be getting ready to come back on the clock when it's time for us to do this webinar. So I'm very excited. Each of them have already compiled several slides for us, coaching us on how to share about their materials so that we can really talk about how great they are and showcase them. And again, you can already access all of those materials and use what's there, but we're going to talk about it in more detail on the 14th of September. So is there anything in the chat box that we need to look at? So excited to hear that administrators attended some of the trainings. Yes, building capacity is so important. It's the Acquiring Minds is the one that has some really neat virtual door prizes. If you've ever been to trainings with those trainers, they are always giving door prizes to keep people motivated. And so in the virtual world, they got very creative and created virtual door prizes, which are also really great resources as well. All right, I'm not seeing anything new in the chat box right now. So we have 6 minutes. So on this next slide, we're really not going to have a lot of time to do it now. And we knew that might happen, so that's why we put it last. But we want you to go into this Google Doc and share with us what effective practices and research-based instructional strategies are you or your school or your district implementing in this time of remote learning or this time of blended learning, or as you're going back to face-to-face. What are some of the research-based strategies that you guys are using? So that bit.ly will take you to a Google Doc. There you go. So we've listed a couple already that are there. The name and your email address are optional. If there's something that you're sharing say, for example, if Luann Llewellyn went in and said she did this great stuff with SEL, and I would hope she would put her name, because we're going to need to ask her questions to understand what's going on. So it's optional to put your contact information, but if you're willing to share your contact so that we can ask you follow-up questions on some of these things, that would be great. So we hope that you'll take the time to go to this document, not only to add what you're doing, but to come back and look at it and see what other people have shared as well. So thank you. I see someone, or it looks like an anonymous chameleon is typing for us. So awesome. Thank you. All right. Oh, did you mean to skip that slide? Oh,
What did I do?
oh, there you go. So just a reminder of the fall PD series and all the different things that are coming up. There are 2 courses in the fall PD series that are WIDA courses. The WIDA courses are the only ones that have limitations on participation, and those both are limited to 40. If you look on the right-hand side, it's the DLI. Oh, no, sorry. The DLI Administrator modules is our guest speaker, Dr. Joan LaChance, and that is a maximum of 40. And then the WIDA courses, sorry, it's small for me, are the first one at the top, Language Specialist Engaging Multilingual Newcomers. And then at the bottom, Scaffolding Learning Through Language Webinar. So notice that those are series. There are several, and we do ask, especially since it's limited to only 40 participants, that if you do sign up for this, that you are committing to the entire series. And the scaffolding, it has the sessions, and then in January it has a follow-up webinar to give you a little bit of opportunity to use the materials, do some assignments, and then come back together. So again, the WIDA and the DLI administrator modules do have limits of 40. All of the rest of the sessions are unlimited. So please have everyone that you know join us for that. The registration links will be there on the slide. They're also on the website. We thank you for joining us today for our very first one. Now you can go to the next slide. So the bit.ly is right there at the bottom of the screen. It'll take you to that list of courses that you just saw. And we all, the entire team, want to thank you for all you're doing to meet the needs of English learners in North Carolina. And remember to put your oxygen mask on first before you try to help others.
Yes,
So,
and once the video recording is ready, we're going to link that on the presentation, link everything. So just keep that link, the bit.ly/20fall PD series. We're going to add all the presentations, the shared resources, video recordings. So every week you're gonna see something new as we have the different sessions. And thank you for joining us. And I think we had, and I think we ran out of time, but if you think of something we should add, just let us know. This is the team, our supervisor, our awesome section chief, Dr. Christy Day. She's the one that helped us with all these initiatives, our crazy ideas. She said yes, and how we can support the field. So thank you. And
we do have a question about the
Ooh, let's see.
certificates. So good question. So we will download the attendee list and submit that to our admin, who will then process that, and you will receive certificates via email.
Yes, maybe in the next couple of weeks, you're gonna get your certificate. It can be earlier because she's amazing, but just think of the next couple of weeks, you're gonna get your certificate.
Okay, so there's a question about completing a form. There's no form to complete. We will download. When you logged in, it registers your name. We're able to see who's here. We're able to see actually exactly how long you stayed. Like if someone came and only stayed 5 minutes, you won't get a certificate. And if someone called in and their name didn't show up, that's something you can email us about later as well. Sorry, you saw my screen go black. The dog came in and insisted on attention, so I was trying to show him on screen, but it didn't work.
Oh, yeah,
So,
you disappear.
well, we thank you guys so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Hope you will enjoy the resources. And like she said, let us know if there's other things you want to hear from us that we don't already have in the series. Have a great day, and I'm so glad you guys were able to join us.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.
I'll try to stop the recording.
Did you stop the recording?